Welcome to lesson 4.2. So we're continuing in our inequalities unit. So we kind of talked about how to graph inequalities, how to read them, and so now we're kind of moving into solving them. So today we're gonna learn how to solve one-step inequalities. So when we're solving inequalities, we solve them just like an equation. So we're still using inverse operations and all of that. We're trying to get the x or the variable by itself, all of that. The only thing that you have to pay attention to is if you multiply or divide by a negative on both sides, okay, on both sides, then you flip the inequality. Okay, so if it's greater than, it would become less than, or if it was less than, it would become greater than. You literally flip it. Okay, that's only when you multiply or divide by a negative on both sides of the inequality. Okay, so I have x plus 8 is greater than or equal to negative 2. So we want to figure out what x is greater than or equal to. So I have x plus 8. So I'm going to do the opposite of plus 8. So I'm going to subtract 8 on both sides. So then I have x is greater than or equal to negative 2 minus 8 is negative 10. Ta-da! I have solved my one-step inequality. Then I'm going to graph the solutions. So I have negative 10, negative 9, negative 11. This is going to be a closed circle. And because x is greater than, we're going to go to the right. Okay. So now let's look at the second one. I have x divided by 2 is less than or equal to 3. So what's happening to x? It's being divided by 2, so we're going to do the opposite like we always do and multiply by 2. Okay, when this happens, these 2's cross cancel, so I'm left with x is less than or equal to 3 times 2, which is 6. Okay, so I have 6, 7, and 5. This is going to be a closed circle, and I'm going to go to the left because x is less than or equal to 6. So I'm going to the left to show what x could be. So if x is less than or equal to 6, x could be 5, it could be negative 7, it can be 0, it can be 6, but it can't be anything past 6. It can't be 7 or 8 or 1 billion or anything like that. Okay, so then on this next one, I have x minus 5 is less than 3. So I'm going to add 5 on both sides because remember, I just do the inverse operation. So I have x is less than 8. So when I go to graph, I make sure my number line's intact. That is going to be an open circle and going to the left because we're less than. X is less than 8, so x has to be something like 7, 6, 5, 4. Okay? And so now let's look at this next one. We have negative 3x is greater than 12. So this is where you have to pay attention. What's happening with x? It's being multiplied by negative 3. So we're going to divide by negative 3. And if you notice, look, we're dividing by a negative on both sides. So when that happens, we flip the inequality. So since the equality was greater than, it's now less than, and 12 divided by negative 3 is negative 4. Okay? So that's when we flip the inequality, is when we're multiplying or dividing by a negative on both sides. So that's going to be an open circle and going to the left. Okay? Remember, it's only when you're multiplying or dividing by a negative on both sides. So this next one, I'm going to add 3 because x minus 3 is less than 19. So I'm just going to add 3. I don't change anything about the inequality because I'm not multiplying or dividing by a negative on both sides. So then negative 19 plus 3 is negative 16. So we have negative 16, negative 15, and negative 17. And we're going to do an open circle, and since it's less than, we're going to the left. Okay, and then our final one, we have 12x is greater than 108. So we're going to divide by 12 on both sides. Now, we don't flip the inequality because we're not dividing by a negative. We're dividing by a positive. So the inequality is left alone. So 108 divided by 12 is 9. So then I have 9, 10, 8. So we're going to be open circle and going to the right. Okay, and so that's it. So remember, when we're solving one-step inequalities, we solve them just like an equation. The only thing we have to pay attention to is if we multiply or divide by a negative on both sides, you have to flip the inequality or your answer is going to be wrong and your solution set's going to be wrong. So that's it for lesson 4.2. Bye.